put the feds back in the hood and in the good, now don't it? Get your own Corona, you can be a god, let's own it. Let me ask you, who doing it like Taharka Bey? Nobody. Who the people's grand sheep? I am. Huh? Show me a boy doing it like Taharka Bey. Ain't none. And I shut my mouth. Let's go. I can't wait to...
Y'all know that's an old demonstration right there. Yeah, that's an old demonstration right there. Are y'all in the building, family? What we doing? Hey, family, we got a good one tonight. Yeah, we got a good one tonight, family. I hope that you are participating. Hold up. Let me get it right. Make sure my camera right. Hey, family, I need to make sure you hit that thumbs up, family, because we about to get busy in a minute. We got an FBA in the building. Yeah, we got an FBA in the building. Somebody said my camera look grainy. I'm on a different program tonight, so maybe you have, let me see what I got. I'm on a different program tonight, but that's the program I got to use to bring people in. But let me see what I look like. Let me see what I look like on my demonstration. Hold up. How my camera look? Cause okay, let me see. I'm gonna check him out. Let me see what it look like on my end. No, on my end, I look slicing. On my end, brother. I'm looking pretty good on my end. I'm looking pretty good. Let me see, but let me turn it up to 1080p. Let me turn it up to 1080p. Maybe Crip used to 1080p. Let me turn it up to 1080p up in there. Oh, yeah, family. We got a good one tonight, family. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my best. I'm going to ask my brother how we want to have the conversation. And, I mean, I'll say you all right, but on a big monitor, it look yeah. Because I'm on another program. I'm not using my secret weapon program because I can't do it. I can't do it the way I want to do it. You know what I'm saying? When I got to bring somebody in, I got to use their what's name until I set up my secret weapon. You know what I mean? I got to use what I got to do. But family, listen, we're going to get straight to it, family, because it's 10:45 and we want to get straight to it. I got a brother in the building, and how this came about, right? He made a statement on Facebook, and I'm going to let him tell you about that statement. And the weird thing about the statement that he made is that it's backing the FBA concept, but I really don't know the in-depth. You know what I mean? Somebody say, turn my mic up. Hold on, let me turn my mic up. I really don't know how I sound now. I really don't know the in-depth concept that the brother is bringing to the table. I just know one thing. I know that the concept was created by Tariq Nasheed. I know that Tariq Nasheed created the concept for the cash register noise, and I know that people are jumping on it blindly and are not even educated on the matter. That's where I stand with it. Now, I'm going to bring my brother on without introduction. I'm going to allow him to introduce himself because I just met the brother. By the way of Facebook and making a comment on his thread. I said, brother, we're going to keep this cordial and nice. You got mute. You got something.
Can you hear me?
Hold up. Oh, there you go. You good. Mute real quick. So again, I don't know. You can hear me though, right? All right. So I don't know, brother concept. I don't know the concept where he stand on, but like I said, I just know that what I stand on as it relates to our people subscribing to what would be known as FBA. And I stand on the unity of our people worldwide. And as you know, everybody know my position here, but I will get in deep into my position in a minute. And so I'm gonna let brother, I'm gonna mute myself and I'm gonna allow you to say whatever you want, introduce yourself. How did you come into the knowledge of FBA? Just, brother, Say whatever you want to get out, and then you can yield the floor to me, and then I'll respond. The reason why, because we know that we have technical difficulties dealing with these airwaves, and we want to make sure that everybody's be heard. So when you finish, you can give it to me. Come on, brother. Yes, sir. Be clear, bro. Say whatever you want. Just don't cuss me out and talk about my mama. Call it rhetoric. Call it whatever you want. Let's go. Hold up. They saying they can't hear you. Hold on 1 second. Why can't they hear you? Hold up 1 second. 1 second. They can't hear you. Oh, I know why. Hold up. Hold up, family. I might got to. Hold on 1 second. Ah, man. All right. Hold up. They can't hear you. Hold up 1 second. Hold on. 1 second. Let me look at his settings real quick. 1 second. They said they can't hear you. 1 second.
Can y'all hear me now? I had it on mute on the app on my phone, and this phone is muted. But I unmuted this and I unmuted the app on my phone. So can y'all hear me now?
See if you can talk. See if you can talk through the app.
Peace and power. Can y'all hear me out there? Y'all can hear me? Okay, so I don't need this phone then. All right. So,
but you will have to mute yourself.
Okay, got you. When I finish saying what I'm saying, then I'm going to mute it. Do I have to unmute it while I'm talking? I just talk straight through the app. Got you. Okay. Peace and power, Hotep family. I go by the name of Maitreya Ahsekh, also known as Shane the Artist. I am a music artist. I run a podcast, the Rebellious Rhymer podcast. I'm also the leader of my gun club, which is the Black Rebel Brigade. This is my flag here, as you can see. So, and as far as the FBA, the FBA ideology and how I came into the knowledge, well, it started off. Well, let's just take a step further back, okay? And in high school, okay, I'm in high school in Arlington, Virginia, okay. We did a project when I was in 11th grade. We watched the movie Roots, and then our project was to dig into your own family tree, your own family lineage, and discover your roots. Basically, that was our homework, right? That was what we had to do. So I spoke to the oldest member of my family at the time. You know, God rest her soul. She's transitioned now, but my grandmother's sister, she worked for the archives. She worked for the public archives in Washington, D.C. So she had a lot of information, you know, and I talked to her, and in a nutshell, I'm not going to get deep into everything that she told me, but she basically said that our family lineage goes back to a plantation in a place called Kentucky, Virginia, and through a member of my family named John R. Buckler. Okay, and John R. Buckler, he was a slave, that this was uh, before 1865. I'm not sure the exact date, but she told me about John R. Buckler and how he escaped the plantation, and he during his travels outside of the plantation, he met a Native American woman who was a member of the Blackfoot tribe. So my great I mean times grandfather, or whatever you want to call him, John R. Buckler, and his wife, he got together with a woman from the Blackfoot tribe. So, and that's basically how my family dynamic got started. Okay, and there's a whole story. They got caught by the slave master. They were both. They put the Indian woman in chains and slavery too. They whooped her with a thorn branch, and a thorn got stuck in her neck. All of this kind of So these are the stories that my aunt would tell me. The point that I'm making is this is the typical story of your average FBA. It had nothing to do with Africa or coming from Africa or nothing like that. My lineage starts here, my immediate lineage. Now, if you want to go to ancient lineage, then yeah, sure. I'm sure I'm working on my DNA and all of that stuff right now, but I'm sure that I have some African lineage. All right, I can't determine exactly where or what tribe or whatnot, but I'm working on all of that. But my immediate lineage goes back to those killing fields in Kentucky, Virginia, with John R. Buckler. So that is why I resonate with FBA. Now, the logic behind FBA resonates with me because I'm gonna explain something to y'all. I live in Houston, Texas, okay, and there are a lot of immigrants. As I'm sure you see, you're close to Washington D.C. area. You see the amount of immigrants that's there in Washington D.C. Well, it's the same thing here in Houston. Now, I worked with these people. I worked with people from Angola. I worked with people from Ethiopia. I worked with people from Nigeria, Cameroon, all South Africa. I work for people, and every single one of these people who I talked to, they all kind of had I was on my Pan-African thing during that time. Excuse me. Go.
I'm hoping that I'll be able to get this message.
Okay.
But I'm having
Excuse me. That's my little son knocking on the door. But I was on my Pan-African thing back then, and I would talk to these African brothers and sisters and talk about the Pan-African Union and building and getting together. And the majority of these immigrants that I spoke with, they sound, when they would tell me their ideology, they sound like they were straight out of Fox News. They use the whole, the black population commits 50% of the crimes. We got all these baby mamas. And every single stereotype that white supremacy came up with, the same stereotypes will come out of these people's mouths as if they've been programmed to say these things. So that is one of the main reasons, and just the disrespect from people abroad who come to this country, a country that our ancestors built. They come here with disrespect, call us all kind of names, Jarir, Abib, Akatas, and all of these things. So the FBA is basically saying enough with the disrespect. We fought during the civil rights movement. We fought with the immigration reform and stuff like that. We fought for things like that to even get you to this country. So FBA is basically checking that type of attitude, and that's basically what FBA is we're also fighting for reparations and things like that. But is the counteract of decades of disrespect, basically. I'll just land right there for now. If you want to add something else to that.
So the whole
So
thing
the whole
about
thing
this
about this
is I'm
is
getting an
I'm getting an
echo.
echo.
Can you mute?
Can you mute it?
Can you mute
Can you
yourself?
mute yourself?
Can you mute
Can you mute
yourself?
yourself? Let me see if I can mute it.
Check, check. Can y'all hear me? Okay, I feel better now. Okay, so first of all, family, at the end of the day, nothing that Shang the artist said was educational. Nothing. It was all emotional. It was all emotional because somebody from Cameroon say something about you, because somebody from bro, that's pretty childish. And we need to grow up as a people. There's nothing educational about what you said. So if you go and teach your children about their lineage, the only excuse you got for FBA is that people called me names. Because that's basically what you said. And you said that, hold up. Let me finish. And you said that we built this country. Yet, one of the problems that I have about that we built this country, and trust me, I'm from the mud. One of the problems that I have about that is a vague blanket statement. When you say that you built this country, what are you referring to? Because in building this country, there was two people involved. There was a slave and there was a slave holder. So you built this country under duress. That's nothing to be proud of. That's nothing to be proud of. If I was in, no, let me finish. If I was in the middle of the desert and I forced you to build me a house in the middle of the desert, you don't get the honor to say I built this house. I get the honor and say, punk, I made you build this house. Not you calling you a punk. I get the honor to say that I made you build this house. And you don't get to come back later and say, look at the house I built. No, you built it under duress. So you built it under duress. You didn't build it at your own volition. You built it under duress. So when people say FBA built this country, it's true, but they never relate that which they built. They always talk about they built the country. Now, trust me, I agree with the concept. However, I don't run around saying I built this country. I don't run around saying we built this country. I say we built civilizations before this country was even thought of. I say that we built empires that the European duplicated and used against us. So when you say FBA, can we get into a educated conversation about not the emotional that somebody called you an Akata, and then you say they call you Habib? Nobody calls you Habibi. We call the Pakistanians Habibis over here, but maybe they call you Habibi. I don't know. You did say that, but no, let me finish. So now let's get into the educational part about you being FBA literally, not because emotional or somebody called you a name. From a scholastic point of view, you said something about that your lineage goes to the Blackfoot. Well, there is something called the Blackfoot Nation. Why haven't you joined the Blackfoot Nation of indigenous Indians and live in that heritage, as opposed to adopt the heritage that was created by a guy with a 6th grade education who can hardly write his name? Just join the Blackfoot. So these are just things that I'm throwing out there. And then I also want to get to the educated part of FBA as opposed to the emotional part of FBA, because what you have put out was the emotional part of FBA. So now, okay, but now I'm going to yield the floor to you but I want you to answer that question. Instead of adopting a 6th grade rendition of Lineage, why not just join the Blackfoot? They still exist. You do know that, right? They still got land. You do know that, right? They still have government. You do know that, right? So why would you transfer that rich history of indigenous Blackfoot for something that was created in 2018, 2019? Doesn't make sense to me. But Here you go. Because the Blackfoot would be uniquely different from a FBA. They would be uniquely different because you say foundational Black American, which would give the indication that these Black people had no identity, and so they use the term Black, and that identity is associated with the plantation. But the Blackfoot actually have an identity that's indigenous to the land. So why not just go to the nation in which you say that you are truly a part of? I yield the floor.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, first and foremost, when it comes to why do I not go to the Blackfoot reservations and join the Blackfoot? Look, man, these are stories that she's an ancestor now, but these are stories that my ancestors told me. I'm not trying to walk around with feathers in my hair and and all of that type of stuff. I'm not trying to do all that. I'm not trying to assimilate Native American culture as what it is today, because most of the leaders of these tribes are pale skins and probably not even Native American blood. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to assimilate with Native American culture, but I'm just saying the story that was told to me is that my ancestors were part of the Blackfoot tribe. So that's what I was told. I'm not trying to be, I've had some debates with some Native Americans. They call us wobbles and all that type of stuff. None of that stuff bothers me because I'm not running around, with feathers and all of that stuff trying to assimilate Native American culture as what it is today. You understand what I'm saying? And so that that answers that. But there's something that you told me. You asked me a question. You said, explain to you how FBA is not a fringe group online. And, and I can answer that, but I don't know if there's anything else that you want to ask me, but.
I just want to.
Are you
letting me go?
Okay. Now here we go. Now let's get to what lineage is. Could you explain to us, and then I'll explain, because the reason why I'm not trying to put you on a hot seat. Oh, yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'm not trying to embarrass you. I'm trying to have a real conversation. But because FBA prides themselves on this thing called lineage, could you explain to us what lineage is in the full scope? Without, what I'm saying is, I don't want you to hold back. I don't want you to say, oh, I forgot that. Take a second, gather all the information that you have come up with, because you're standing on FBA lineage. So all of the information that you have gathered, explain what is and what's the meaning of lineage so we can understand your perspective. And then I'll give you my breakdown.
Okay. Your lineage is basically where your bloodline leads back to, going back into basically the plantations. It goes back further, but your lineage is basically your bloodline, your grandmother and your great grandmother and your great great grandmother. That is your lineage, is your family bloodline. So that is, it's simple in a nutshell. I'm not about to go on no long tangent about lineage and stuff like that, but that's basically what it is. Your lineage is your bloodline. Where does your bloodline lead to? Yes, eventually that bloodline is going to trace back to Africa. I understand that, but probably every human on this planet bloodline is going to somewhere in some shape or form is going to trace back to Africa, even if it's a small percentage. But your lineage is basically your bloodline.
All right. So there you go. You just said it. Lineage is bloodline. Lineage is actually a science. Lineage is actually a science. And you know what is the science? You know the science called when you're talking about lineage? It's actually called genealogy. That's what lineage is. Genealogy. So the science of genealogy doesn't stop at the plantation. It's a social science. And the purpose of genealogy is to show people where the genes have traveled, the people have traveled, where they come from, and in a social construct, it gives a foundation to pinpoint great periods to live up to. That's what lineage does. When anybody traces their lineage outside this silly FBA thing, they're looking for great moments. So you take the Greeks, they look for things like the Acropolis. They look for things of Greek mythology that they feel as though made them great. When you look at, check this out, even looking at stolen lineage, when you look at the Arabs that's in Egypt right now, they're trying to convince you that they are the original Egyptians. Why? Why? Because the greatness that comes with being an ancient Kemite, they can teach their children that they built something that no one else on the planet can figure out how they built. So they steal it. The European Jew, they trace their lineage to the Asiatic melanated people in the Levant, even though they're European. So they steal a history in order to teach them children that what? That they are the chosen people of God. But us, we say, I trace my lineage to a plantation and I built this country. And so now here's the big question. Show me what you built. Show me what you own. Show me what you manage. Show me what you run. You go.
Okay. As far as showing you what we built, you do understand that foundational Black Americans built the railway systems, right? Track by track, built the railway systems, spreading all across this new nation, the United States of America, the U.S. Foundational Black Americans built these railway systems. Now the Chinese would come in later and they would add on to what was already built by foundational Black Americans. And what they built basically just led to California. So you have the railway systems built by foundational Black Americans. You have over 50,000 patents, 50 to 80,000 patents built by foundational Black Americans, including the cotton gin, including Lewis Lattimore with the filament for the light bulbs. So many, I mean, I'm sure you know the history on a lot of that. So foundational Black Americans building Black Wall Street, building Wimbledon, building Seneca Village, building Rosewood. You cannot say that foundational Black Americans have not built anything. And let me address something that you said earlier. You mentioned this. Okay, hold on. Let me get my shit straight. Let me get together. Excuse my language, okay? You know, but and this is not an emotional thing. And the emotion part, as far as me explaining about FBA, that's just a small part. That's not everything that what FBA is about. You understand what I'm saying? But So that's what it is. So well, go ahead and whatever you about to say, and then I'll
What,
What you
what you look with,
hold on,
oh, yeah, what
you mute. What you missed was a two-part question, kind of three-part. I say, what did you build, own, and manage today? That's what I said. Remember, I said I'm of the thought that we did build some stuff. I'm with you right there. But what have we owned, managed, or rather maintained from that building? And that was the question. That was the question. You see, because
because
when you
when you
build
build
something,
something,
let me just
you
finish.
just finish.
When you build something under duress, it's not yours. It's not yours. You're building it for somebody else. And with the railroad track, you in slight error there because there was European slaves, indentured servants also building on these railroad tracks. There. And the reason, let me finish. No, there's a history behind that. There's a history behind that. When they came up with the black and white construct, it was because the indentured servants of European caste were getting along with the slaves and they was plotting to overthrow the oppressor together. That history is written right in Jamestown. That history is written all throughout. And when they came up with the black and white construct, the black and white construct was instituted to let the European, quote unquote, white slave indentured servant to feel, there we go, Beacon's Rebellion, Sean Caesar in the building, Beacon's Rebellion was let the European feel superior over the African or the indigenous or the Indian. So right there, brother, there's an error right there, error of a margin. Now, you was unmuting your mic. You'll go.
Yeah, you're talking about the Battle of Bacon's Rebellion. Yes, I'm familiar with that history. But you have to be honest now. Uh, you're talking about like people like the Irish, and other Europeans who came into the country who worked as indentured servants, and they worked as indentured servitude. They did not stay slaves. They did not have chattel slavery practice on them. They did not have babies cut from their stomach and stumped into the ground. They did not. These were indentured servants, and once they did their duties, they were assimilated into whiteness, into white supremacy, and they received land and stuff like that with the Land Act and things of that nature. So there, you can't compare. And let me say this: there's no reason why FBA should not be proud of the fact that they built this country under duress or not. Doesn't matter. We still built this country, and that's something that we take pride in. Whether were we forced to do it? Yes, but we also did a lot of amazing things as we were building this country. So yes, we are basically claiming what we built. We are claiming it as ours, and I agree with that movement.
So I think you misunderstood what I said. I didn't say that they was anything other than indentured servants. I said they were a part of the workforce in all intents and purposes. Who cares if they were Irish? Who cares if they were Polish? Who cares? They were Europeans and a part of the workforce. That's all I was making a point. I wasn't making a point that they were slaves. I wasn't making a point that they were brutalized. I wasn't making that point. I was making a point that during the ushering in of slavery, European indentured servants were on the chopping block too. But not, and when I say chopping block, I'm talking about the workforce. They were a part of the workforce. Now, maybe not on the level that we have been fed. We've been fed about Mammy. We've been fed about Uncle Tom. We've been fed Roots. You talked about Roots. We've been fed Roots. We've been fed all of these stories root's not even true. Root's not even true. So the whole thing I'm saying is we're fed these things in order to conjure up these energies and not use our intellect. But now, you said something about lineage. You said lineage, you trace back to your grandmother and grandmother. Da, 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 da. My thing is that if you say that you have a story that grandma told you, without verification, it's nothing more than a story. But if you say that you're FBA, your leader gave a criteria of how to define FBA. Do you know how you define FBA? How do you define yourself as FBA? What's the criteria, the standard that emphatically proves that you FBA? What's the criteria?
What's the criteria that I'm FBA? Is what I said before. Is lineage. It has nothing to do with. It has nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with. All it has to do with your lineage and where does your lineage go to? Does your lineage go to another country? Does your lineage go to Jamaica? Does your lineage lead to Barbados? Does your lineage lead to the Congo? Or does your lineage lead to the plantations of the northern hemisphere of America? And that's basically what it is. Is a real simple concept. A lot of people like to make it confusing and try to throw a lot of loopholes in there to trip it up. It's real simple. Either you're FBA or you're not. Either your lineage goes back to those plantations or it don't. And it's real simple as that.
The creator, FBA was created, it was a concept created by Tariq Nasheed. It was a concept created by Tariq Nasheed. Let's be clear. That's number one. And in that concept, he gave a criteria. So for you to be FBA, you must fit the criteria. You can't make up your own criteria. It's like any other system of learning. You have to fit yourself into the construct. You can't make something up. It's not that you made something up because what you said is true to the concept, but there is a definitive criteria. And that definitive criteria is that you must trace yourself to the 1870 census. That's or one of your parents. Or one of your parents. You understand? So what you're saying, right? So what you're saying is what most FBA people saying. They're painting it with a wide brush, with nothing definitive. Not even the creator has showed us his census papers. Not even the creator, Tariq Nasheed himself. He haven't even showed. No, if I'm going to create something, hold up, brother. If I'm going to create something and create a criteria, I should be the first to show that I meet the criteria. So no, you said no. I'm gonna let you talk again. And you said why? Because
let me tell you why. If we let's say we do our genealogy, and why should we have to share that? You understand what I'm saying? Now, granted, people do, and I plan on sharing my genealogy when I get it, because I'm working on that. But that it's like there's no point. Why should we have to share that? First of all,
okay. This is why. I'm not saying you as one who called themselves FBA should have to let every single FBA should have to share their thing. But a spokesperson, primarily the creator, should say, this is how you prove your FBA. Here is my documentation. This is my mama. In your own words, your grandmama, your grandmama, your grandmama, your grandmama, your grandmama. Here is Grandma Betsy on the 1870 census because he's a representative. Now, the average FBA, they'll have to do it too because guess what the representative spokesman said? He said, which this is fictitious, it's just phony. He says, in order to get reparations, you have to prove your lineage go to the 1870 census. Now, you're shaking your head. Yes, he made that requirement. There is no governmental structure that made that requirement. Hold up, let me finish. There is no governmental structure that made that requirement. There is no legal law that made the requirement. Tariq Nasheed made that requirement. So even the layman of FBA would have to document their stuff to the 1870 census. The point that I'm making here, you're on Morris World TV as a spokesperson for FBA tonight. And you should be, out of all people, just like I'm a Moorish American. I'm a spokesperson for the Moorish Scientific of America. I'm obligated to show you the standard in which I'm teaching. I'm obligated. And I'm saying that the spokesperson should be obligated to show people how it plays out. So a Tariq Nasheed, Afro Elite, all of these people with these podcasts, because if that doesn't happen, guess what? A Nigerian can speak a good English accent, can say they FBA, and they ain't got to prove nothing to you. They could do it, and they don't have to prove nothing. So I'm talking about spokesmen and representatives. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about every layperson. Spokesman and representative should be showing and proving that their ancestry goes to the 1870 census. Take the floor, brother.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, but first and foremost, we foundational Black Americans, we know each other. We know who we are. We know our lineage. Just by stories alone, you know, Black Americans keep good documents. Grandma keep the documents under the mattress. Your auntie and then kept your birth certificates and you know, your IDs and all this stuff, and you know, the little birth certificate with your little feet on them. And man, we know each other. We know who we are. If we have lineage that goes outside of the country, we would know that and we would take pride in that. But we do not. We don't. I'm speaking of FBAs. We do not. If we have lineage that goes to Nigeria, that goes to Ghana or whatever, or we had our grandma lives in Ghana, or our cousin, I cannot pick up the phone and call any family member in Ghana. I cannot. But I can call my auntie in DC. I can call my cousin who I just talked to, who lives right there in Baltimore. I could call him up. I can talk, and as a matter of fact, my cousin in Baltimore, it was his grandmother who worked for the Washington D.C. Bureau as you know, who stored the information and stuff like that. So that's where I got my information from. So you know, we know each other, bro. You know, and that's just what it is. You know, and I hear you when it comes to a representative should present what they say. When it's time to get them reparations checks, you know, and then we'll start presenting some damn paperwork up in here. But as far as presenting some paperwork to people who just want to antagonize you and have an issue with FBA just because of a certain person made up a name for it, you know, I don't feel the obligation to do that. Now, me personally, I would, and I plan on it. And also, by the way, you know, the term, that FBA term, yes, it was created by Tariq Nasheed, but it was just basically a spin on what was used before. Before that, it was ADOS, you know, and, you know, a lot of us kind of backed off of that because they classified themselves as a group and with leaders, and you have to basically sign up and you have to go through them to join this group. FBA is not a group, it's simply a lineage. You understand what I'm saying? So, and before ADOS, You had good brother Dr. Claude Anderson. He used to use the term native blacks. As a matter of fact, you can hear him. He was on the Breakfast Club, and he was explaining the term native blacks. And I believe the reason why Tariq Nasheed came up with another term to use for that is because when we would use native blacks, I used to use native blacks and and stuff like that. I did. I've used it before. Um, but that would confuse people, and they'd be like, "Oh, what do you mean, Native Americans that are dark skinned? You mean the red natives?" So it became kind of confusing. So the term FBA to me is a better fit. Yeah, it was created by Tariq Nasheed, but let me explain something to you. Just because a man created something, that does not mean that he is the leader of something. He's not our leader, first of all. Okay, the term FBA grew legs on its own and it's taken off. Okay, Tariq Nasheed or not. If Tariq Nasheed, you know, pass away, you know what I'm saying? FBA, that term FBA is going to live on. It grew legs on its own. So yes, kudos to Tariq Nasheed for creating that term FBA though, because FBA is a Trump type term and it cannot be colonized or and stuff like that. So that's why I choose to use that term. So
All right. Now let me say I'm not an advocate of ADOS, but I will tell you that ADOS is not, as they describe themselves as a lineage, they're merely organizing so they can address the reparation issue. You can't address the reparation issue without an organized effort. So you're really mixing apples and oranges. I don't believe in ADOS concept either, but I do know that the ADOS concept is no different concept than the FBA. The only addition to ADOS is that they're organizing, in their words, they're organizing for reparations, not organizing for lineage. So you have to understand the difference. There's a difference. There's a difference. See, uh, 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 um, the creator of ADOS, she's saying that this is your lineage. But in order to obtain reparations, we need to organize. And that's true. That's true. You don't get reparation without a concentrated effort and a step-by-step program to get from a conversation to the money being dropped in your bank account. So that's what the organization is all about. So, and I don't agree with none of it. I don't agree with none of it. Now back to your point about FBA. No, I don't agree about. I don't agree. No, I don't agree. I believe it's all a hustle. I believe it's all a hustle. It's all a hustle. It's all a hustle. That's what I'm telling you. Whether it's sister with the ADOS, she's a podcaster, no different than me. She's a podcaster. And she will say emotional talking points in order to further her celebrity of podcasts. And the bigger her celebrity get, the bigger the audience get, the bigger the donations get, the bigger it's an ecosystem. No different than FBA. FBA is an ecosystem. Create the term FBA, get brothers like you to be proud of FBA, and the next thing you know, there'll be products, and at some point, there'll be services, and at some point, there'll be a pride built around the FBA concept in the psyche of FBA, and it'll be an ecosystem that provides the person who have established FBA, copyrighted, trademarked FBA with the money bag. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. And this is how we know. Every concept that Tariq Nasheed brought through the table has been a money grab. There is not one thing that Tariq Nasheed has done, and he has a history. See, and this is the problem. All we got to do is study history. When he came with the MacBooks, he never was a pimp. He says he wasn't a pimp. but he talking like a pimp. He using pimp slang. He walks with a pimp cup. He got a pimp cane. He got a pimp hat. He's doing all of the dramatics and antics of a pimp. Why? He's selling an idea. When he came into the concept of consciousness, he came into that Sarnetta type conscious type thing. And what did he do? The hottest thing smoking at the time was Moorish. He used the Moor head, and he began to market himself as one who wanted to push awareness and consciousness. When that ticket ran out, and let's not forget, in between, he was an R&B artist, and in between, he was a comedian, in between, a podcaster. All of these are money grabs. But when each one run its course, he grabs onto another one. FBA is no different. The only difference between FBA and MacBooks is MacBooks was marginalized. FBA can be nationalized, which means nationally more people can gravitate to it because we are unique from our experience here in America. And now the preacher can sell you a pie in the sky, and you will spend every dime in that pan, but you ain't gonna never get that pie in the sky. Go ahead, brother.
Come on, man. Come on, man. So let me ask you this then. So do you agree that we live in a capitalistic society? I'm saying, do you agree that we live in a capitalistic society? Because there's nothing wrong with a man selling CDs, selling DVDs, selling books. There's no problem with that. I'm sure you have products that you sell too, brother. So, we shouldn't demonize a man for making money. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a problem with a man making money. Now I hear a lot of people, including yourself, call Tariq Nasheed a grifter and all these things. And I just don't see that, because it's not like he's out there asking for donations and then you don't see where the money is going. You see where the money is going. You send him money, he'll send you a DVD. You send him money, it'll go to an actual building, an actual establishment, an actual institution of the Hidden History Museum. So so he sell things. So what? I mean, I don't see what the issue is with that.
Okay, let me explain to you. You said you send him money, he send you a DVD. One part you left out. People donated to make the movie. So now the people that donate to make the movie, they also got to buy the movie. Then, nothing wrong with that. But then there is no profits to make another movie. There's another crowdfunding for the next one. Then you donate and then you buy the next one. This is the ecosystem. So we're talking about predatory capitalism here. This is predatory capitalism. Let me tell you how. Listen to me, brother. If I say, give me money to buy this tape because I am going to reproduce tape. And once I reproduce tape, I say, boom, all right, I reproduced it. And you say, let me get some tape, brother Taharka. Okay, $10, buddy. No problem. Give me $10. Listen, I'm about to reproduce tape again. Shang, I'm about to reproduce tape again. I need your donations. How many times are you going to keep giving me donations? As at some point in time, you're going to say, brother, why don't you take the profits and reproduce the industry that you're trying to get us to donate for? So this is what we're talking about, brother. We're not talking about getting donations for a good cause. We're talking about over 15 years of repetitive donations for the same thing that's supposedly the best-selling DVD in the underground of consciousness. But every time one comes out, even down to the last one, a microphone check. give me some donations, and then buy it from me. So it's different. Now, when you talk about the Hidden History Museum, give me $1 million. Then you don't take the $1 million and do what you said, build a museum. You got some excuses, cool. What you do is you get a mortgage. You pay the premium on the mortgage, if you will, or the down payment on the mortgage. And now you have a mortgage and you say, we own a museum. So that is different than someone demonstrating capitalism, even in the truest form of capitalism. This is not capitalism in the truest form of capitalism. So I get what you're saying. Yeah, a person should be able to sell product from their talents and the things like that. I don't dispute that. I'm disputing what you're saying, that this is just capitalism. No, this is not. This is, you donate to me, I create something, I sell it back to you, and when it's time to do a new thing, I need your donations again, and we're going to do it up to you won't until you wisen up. People have wisened up now, and so although there was crowdfundings almost every year, a couple years then skipped. So hopefully they wisen up. So that's different, brother, and you must admit that it is different than what you're talking about. The capitalism that you're talking about is someone taking their creative talents, developing something, and you find worth in it, and you purchase it. And they take the profits, take care of themselves, reproduce, and they continue to go on. That's not what's going on right here. There's a track record, brother. You do realize that, don't you? There's a track record. That's not what's going on. I yield the floor. Go ahead, brother.
Okay. You do know that in business, 9 times out of 10, a businessman is not going to, if he can help it, he is not going to spend his own money on his business. He's going to use credit cards. He might do a crowdfunding. It just depends. So to say that that he creates a crowdfunding every year for a DVD or for a book or for whatever he wants to create, he create a crowdfunding for it. It's the people's choice if they want to give this man $1 or not. But the point that I'm making is, at least he's producing a product. You can't hate on the man for that. I mean, he's producing a product. Whether we like the fact, I don't know any man who has the ability to raise capital. Why would he then take a profits, that he made to put it in another to make another project when he has the ability to raise capital and he has people who are willing to give to him for him to create this product? I mean, I don't see the issue with that, brother Taharka Bey.
Okay.
Here is the issue. The issue is, one is selling social advancement and hope. That's what it's all about. We need our own museum. We need our own museum. And they know if we have our own museum, we're going to shut them down. See, they don't believe that we can build our own museum. You hear the rhetoric I'm saying? You hear the rhetoric I'm saying? So it's baiting. This is not social advancement. This is not social upheaval for a people, although it's being sold. That's the problem, brother. The problem is never producing a product. The problem is never getting crowdfunding. That ain't the problem. The problem is that it's predatory. It's baiting. And yeah, you do have people that will support to the end. But let me ask you a question. The scenario I just gave you, if your son came home and said, "Hey, Dad, I just donated $500 for this movie called Hidden Colors. stop. I just donated $500 for this movie called We Are From the Mud. Unless you half crazy, the first thing you would say, donated to a movie? What you mean? Hold up, explain that to me. Unless you are half crazy, unless you just don't care and say, that's his money, do what you want. But if you have some sort of connection to your family members, loved ones, or whatever, you're going to say, you donated to a movie. What? Because that is an odd concept. That's an odd concept. Even though it happens all the time, it's an odd concept for us as a people, right? But it does happen. And now, oh, the movie came out, and your son comes there and say, Dad, let me use your Amazon account to buy the movie From the Mud. And if you don't say, hold up, didn't you just donate $500 for it to be produced? Hold up, make it make sense to me, son. Make it make sense to me, son. And son said, well, no, I just want to support. You say, okay, you tap it in Amazon, you get From the Mud DVD. 6 months later, your son said, Dad, I just donated $500 more to From the Mud too. You say, hold up now. Bro, let's put it in real personal terms, bro. It doesn't make sense. And you're trying to make something illogical logical. It just doesn't make sense when you personalize it. It just doesn't make sense. So now you take it from the personalization and you look at all the people who fell for the okie doke. And there is no social advance, and it's sold under the auspice of social advancement. That's the issue. When we got real schools that need to be built, we got real museums that need to be built, we got real educational institutions that need to be built. You know what I'm saying? We got real stuff that need to happen. This is not real, brother. And you're justifying illogical moves that is perpetrated against our people, brother, for the love of a personality. Go ahead, brother.
So, according to your logic, the Hidden History Museum is not real. Okay, but it is a building that exists in California, and it's used for events and things like that. He does have a museum. I mean, it does exist, brother. I mean, whether you want it to or not, I mean, the museum is there. You've been there, so you ought to know.
Let me ask you a question. Just shake your head, yes or no. Are you in business? You're in business. Do you know that when you're in business, you construct the business, and there is a construction that's put on paper? There is no business called the Hidden History Museum. Did you know that? That building is owned by Melanoid Nation. Did you know that? Do you know that there is nothing called the Hidden History Museum? Like when you look up any museum in DC, California, Texas, and you look it up and you can look at the actual paperwork of the construct, how it was put together, curators and everything. It does not fit the construct, nor as a legal entity called the Hidden History Museum, it doesn't exist. It only exists in your mind and anybody who wants to buy the rhetoric. But when you look at, brother, look up the museum in Texas. I guarantee you that you can find the legal construct. And when I say the legal construct, I'm talking about what it's about, why it was set up, who was the curators, what is in them. I guarantee you, you're going to find the board of directors. You're going to find everything. You're going to find in any museum on the planet that's a legitimate museum, that's what you'll find. You don't find that with this. This building is owned by a nonprofit called Melanoid Nation. And Melanoid Nation was established to offset the things that we suffer as a people in the African diaspora. I mean, according to those marching orders. So, brother, you're making something illogical logical. Now, but we got to get back to the FBA talk. But go ahead, I'm gonna let you go. And Cryptonomics said something. Let me find what Crypt said. This is what Crypt said. I need to put up Cryptonomics. Cryptonomics say, Taharka, ask him to kindly remove his hat so he can reveal his FBA hairline, as Tariq claims all FBA have. It's a little joking joke, little joke. At crypto. But you understand? Let me get my brother right here. He said Tariq crowdfunds, sells product you pay for and repeat. Brother, that's illogical behavior in business, brother. That's illogical. That doesn't mean that a fool ain't born every day. But that's just illogical. But go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Okay. So, and I guarantee you that these brothers that's in your comments making it. First of all, I don't have no FBA hairline. I'm bald. Okay. So this.
Oh yeah, we want to run. I'm bald too.
So I just, you know what I'm saying. So so that goes with that right there. And second of all, you talk about okay. What was the question again? Because you talking about my bad. Y'all throwing me off here.
No, what I'm saying is that you was justifying the practices and calling it that it was capitalism. And I'm telling you, that's not typically capitalism. That is our own ecosystem to benefit one person. You know what I'm saying? That's an ecosystem to benefit one person. That's not typical capitalism, although capitalism does benefit one person, but this ecosystem is a construct where I take from you and I sell to you, I take from you, I sell to you, I take from you and sell for you, I take from you. It's not reciprocal. I mean, and even in capitalism, it's reciprocal. That's not reciprocal. You know what I'm saying? Now. Let me say this. And when you talked about the Hidden History Museum, you say you got a museum to show. What you have to understand, and you have to really consider from a logical perspective, the people had begun to pressure him because he had already got the $1 million. And it took almost a year for him to produce something. Give or take. And the people was pressuring him. You see what I'm saying? When it was time for him to produce that what he sold people on, and then you have to remember this, brother. I'm not saying things that he did not say. He said that he was going to build it from the ground up. He said that there was going to be a movie room here, that's going to be this, that, there's going to be this, that. He said that. I didn't say that. You understand what I'm saying? He said we are going to own our own museum. He didn't say anything about a mortgage. Moochie Bear discovered that. He didn't say anything about that. Even when the building was acquired and no one knew about it, there was people, Europeans in there leasing the building. He never told anybody. We revealed it right here on More Shroud TV. You call it antagonizing. I call it checks and balances. We revealed it right here. Then the next thing you know, the people say, I seen myself on a podcast on YouTube and I don't want to be in there no more. And then boom, they get out of there. And now he's forced to reveal, we got to pay the bills. So everything comes out on the back end be disingenuous. So you're being genuine in your love for the concept of FBA, but the creator has been disingenuous every step of the way. That's just what it is.
Okay, like I said before, the term FBA done grew legs of its own. Okay, it is on its own path right now. And as far as the logistics and everything of what's going on with the building and things of that nature, bottom line is the man said that he was going to get this museum and he got it. Is being used. I mean, look, man, he got the building. He raised the funds. He got the building. The building is there. He's using the building. Whether he owned it or not, I don't know the logistics of if he's paying it off or whether I really don't know the logistics. I am not a hardcore. I'm not a Tariq Nasheed follower. Okay, I agree with a lot of the things that he says and does. But like I said before, the FBA term done grew legs and then went off on its own path. Everything is not always connected to Tariq Nasheed, brother. This is what I'm trying to explain to you.
And what I'm trying to explain to you, it is connected to Tariq Nasheed because he created the criteria, brother. You can't get away from him. It's like this. You live in the United States of America, right? You got the American flag on Popeye's arm, right? That'll be just like saying all the laws in the United States does not go back to the Constitution. Well, if they don't, they need to be thrown out because it's what? Unconstitutional. Why? Because those creators of this document give the foundation of the laws in this country, whether we accept them or not. You know what I mean? Whether they stole them from somebody, whether they manipulated, we're not going to argue that point. But the establishment of the Constitution is the criteria that's a standard of laws in this country. It is what it is. It's the same thing with FBA. The standard of FBA was created by Tariq Nasheed. So he's the end all be all unless someone says, okay, we're going to re-standardize FBA without Tariq Nasheed. Now, here is how you identify as an FBA. Standard 1. But until then, the standard of FBA, you cannot remove, you don't have FBA without Tariq Nasheed. And to say that FBA has gotten legs of its own, no. It got rhetoric of its own. Just like I say, how do you become FBA? You say your grandmother. I say, well, how do you establish it? Well, it's your grandmother, but that's not the criteria. The criteria is stated on record. It's on record. So you can't have FBA without Tariq Nasheed. That's your leader, brother. That's your leader.
No, that doesn't. No, brother, that does not mean you could try to spin it. And I already knew that you was going to do this. This is how you get down, and I understand that to me, you are the master of spin, and this is a part of the antagonizing thing that I was talking about. You see what I'm saying? But no, Tariq Nasheed is not the man that said himself that he is no leader. There is no leader amongst the lineage. There's no leadership. It's just the lineage. That's all it is. Like I said before, do your lineage trace back to the killing fields of the slave plantation? Either yes or no. It's that simple. Also, like you said, do your lineage dates back to the 1870s or 1860s census form? That is a part of the criteria. That's a part of the criteria, but it's plain and simple. If your lineage leads back to the killing fields of North America, then you are FBA. It's just plain and simple. I mean, you can make it. You can try to make it complicated, but it's really not.
Okay. So when you're talking about reparations, right, you're talking about a legal issue. All right. You're talking about a legal issue. So we're not complicating things. We're saying that to say that you FBA, it got to be definitive. You don't go before Congress and say, I can trace myself back to the killing fields, I get money. So what I'm saying is, that's what I say, you got to have an educated conversation. You got to have an educated conversation. You don't go to the court and say, I'm making a claim for reparation, judge. I trace myself to killing fields. It's not that cut and dry. You're trying to make it cut and dry. It's not that cut and dry. Because y'all making it a serious conversation. So let's deal with serious information. You're trying to sideline the seriousness of identifying as FBA because you may not, and no one else, have produced the criteria that was set by the founder. That's all it is. And you say you're going to do it. How? But you accepted something, without even verifying that you are that. You're verifying it by stories. No. Hold up. It's good. That's a good start. Don't get it twisted. That's a good start. But what I'm saying is, if it's that serious, where we not Jamaican and we not Haitians and we not descended from this and we not descended, what is so complicated about producing the documentation? And I'm not speaking about you. I'm speaking about all of those that got these big mouths. It's so complicated. Secondly, back to lineage. When you look at Jamaicans, right? And you say, what is the Jamaicans' lineage? Do you think Jamaicans start and stop in Jamaica? Of course not. They still see their heritage in Africa. Even though in Jamaica, they just as unique as anybody. Speaking patois, they just as unique as any other nation of people. But their lineage goes right back to the continent. And not scared to tell you. Why? Because they understand the greatness that comes with it. Haitians. Many of the people in Haiti, of course, they identify proudly as Haitians. But when you talk about true lineage, they do not deny the fact that the origin of their kind is in Africa. We, hold up. We, from the institution of slavery, been taught to deny the greatness that comes with our connection to Africa. You know the greatest stronghold of, and I'm gonna use the term black people, before the European came into dominating the planet, was black Moors from North Africa. That was the last stronghold of any people, dark complexion. Dominated. And not only did they dominated right post of the Roman Empire, where they thought the Roman Empire would never fall. And it was the Moors to bring collapse to it. So the whole thing that I'm saying to you, brother, to teach your children that greatness began at the plantation is a horrible error. To keep saying and acting like, oh, this lineage going into a plantation of the 1870 census is the end all be all, is a horrible error. It's a horrible error. And if the slave owner tried to disconnect you from your indigenous roots in America and the connection to Africa, because we're not one or the other. We may be a little bit of both. Some of us indigenous here was enslaved here. Some of us was bought here. But whatever side or spirit that you choose to choose with, the slaveholder, his job was to make sure you disconnect. And now FBA perpetuates that disconnect. Let me tell you why. FBA perpetuates the disconnect. Because majority of the countries that's been under duress and occupied by Europeans, Tariq Nasheed have visited. Even you went to ancient Kemet. Oh, I did my research. Even you went to ancient Kemet. Why would you go to ancient Kemet? Why? You know why? Not because you was RBG. Because the Spirit led you there. The Spirit led you there. So the whole thing about FBA, that doesn't, FBA, you don't have to be FBA to honor your uniqueness here. Your uniqueness here is unique here because of our experience, regardless what you call yourself. Whether you call yourself a Moor, whether you call yourself a Hebrew, whether you call yourself FBA, whatever. The uniqueness here is our uniqueness here, regardless. The problem with FBA is the divisiveness. Maybe not from you, but majority of the FBA rhetoric is divisive. And the problem with that divisiveness is we have the same occupier, the same oppressor that you want to divide against each other. And not you per se, but I don't know if you're on Twitter. I don't know if you're in these spaces. FBA rhetoric is divisive. And just because a colonized mind call you an Akata, so what? His mind is colonized. And if you got a slave mind and you say, okay, you booty back scratcher, we done went back to childish antics. When in fact, brother, I want to say this, when in fact, the European Union, let's look at the math, right? Let's look at the math real quick. If you want to talk, just put your hand up. I'll stop. Just look at the math real quick. There is not a country of our people without European influence in it. Not one on the planet. Not one. There is not a so-called black country on the planet without European or colonialism influence in it. Not one. But I can show you European countries that don't have our influence in it. And then, to top it off, they are able to unite and have distinct identities, distinct boundaries, and distinct aims and goals, and able to unite and dominate you. Yet, we are having a petty argument about FBA while we're being dominated. We're not being dominated by Haitians. We're not being dominated by Nigerians. We're not being dominated by anybody from our family lineage. We're being manipulated. And their manipulation then caused confrontation. But we're being dominated by Europeans. Go ahead, brother. You go.
Okay. First, let me address you said that FBAs we're being, you didn't say the word xenophobic, but that's basically what you're saying. We're being xenophobic. We're being divisive. The FBA movement is not about, first of all, it is just a lineage and just acknowledging that lineage. And there's nothing wrong with that because too many of us skip past our lineage here and our ancestors on the killing fields of the slave plantations here, skip over our lineage here, reach way out to some ancient ancestry that we barely even have a connection to anymore. Furthermore, you are saying that we are being divisive, and that is just not true. That's not the case. It's not about being divisive. It is about checking, and you make it seem like is a person calling us a Akata here, a person there. No, you don't understand, brother, that there's a whole lot more than what you think it is. You got these people coming into this. They don't let non-FBAs, Africans, Jamaicans, whatever the case, diaspora, black people, they're not going to even let you over here if you don't have that kind of white supremacy ideology. They asked these people. These people done told me, I don't work with a lot of immigrants, and they told me that in customs, they let them know, they tell you, do not get with African Americans, do not hang with African Americans, don't marry them. They spread this message amongst each other, and they've been doing it for decades. And the only thing that FBA are doing is checking this behavior. We're teaching people how to treat us. That's it. It's not about a hatred towards Africa. Like you said, yes, I went to ancient Kemet. That shows you right there. I got the RBG behind me. This is my flag. This is my personal flag, my family crest, my organization. Okay? FBA is not about hatred of Africa. It's not about being divisive. Even though being divisive right now in this moment is necessary. A delineation right now in this moment is very necessary. And I'm going to tell you why it's necessary. Because you have people coming into this country. You can make it seem like it's a person here, a person there. No, brother, it's a lot more than you think it is. And these people come here with disrespectful rhetoric. You got and you have politicians who are basically saying no to reparations for Black Americans. They're trying to speak for Black Americans. You got the majority of the Congressional Black Caucus are not Black Americans. They're children of immigrants, okay? And they advocate for immigrants only. But when it comes to the needs of Black Americans, we are primarily ignored, and we are always cosplayed. And it's the way we see it, the way FBA see it is you are trying to replace us. So that is why the delineation is necessary. And it has nothing to do with hatred for Africa. Has nothing to do with that. Like you said, my spiritual system, I am a student of Baba Azra Kwesi, and I study the Kemetic science. I've been studying those pyramids and them temples for many years. My spiritual connection is to Kemet, yes. But let me ask you this question. I'm gonna ask you this question. As a Black American, I'm not sure what your lineage is, but as a Black American, what have we benefited from Pan-Africanism as Black Americans other than some knowledge and maybe African spiritual system? Other than those two things, what have we gained as Black Americans?
All right, I want to address the first thing you said about they come over here and they don't want us in their spaces. Brother, every country on the planet has a unique cultural identity, and they normally deal with each other within their cultural construct. So when you look in Nigeria, let me finish. I'm gonna bring it over here. When you look at Nigeria, you have a bunch of different tribes, if you will, and each tribe deal with their cultural construct. Very rarely do these tribes try to mix and blend unless they start a confederacy. Now, here in America, it's no different when an African come over here and they pick out a little corner of a neighborhood and they begin to make markets, goods, and services for them because they have to appeal to their culture. They didn't grow up on hot dogs and beans. They didn't grow up on things that we grew up on. Their relatability is just a little bit different. And so the Ethiopians created an Ethiopian restaurant so those from Ethiopia can enjoy their native food. I mean, this is like common sense. Now, hold up. I'm going to bring it all the way home because what you said is that they don't invite, basically, they trying to replace us. And what I'm telling you, that's not so. The problem with us is that we haven't created our own space that is permanent. We haven't created our own space that is permanent. We haven't created our own food. We let Chinese people sell us chicken wings in every city I've been. We let Koreans sell us chicken wings in every city I've been. You ain't never seen a brother trying to sell tacos unless they had an upscale restaurant and they got to make some fish tacos, flip them. So what I'm saying is that every group of people maintain a cultural integrity, and they don't have to let you in, but they don't make them your enemy. One second. And then the second thing that you said, you said when they are in Congress and they do this and do that, they are supposed to look out for their own. You are supposed to get yourself organized, get on the table, get at the table instead of being on the table. You cannot blame someone with a cultural difference to get over here and look out for their own people and say, they don't look out for us. That's a slave mentality. Here in Baltimore, you have the Indian people from Pakistan and India. Here in Catonsville, they carved out an area of their own. They're getting themselves on certain boards, community boards, political boards, and they're moving legislation. What grown man would I look like saying, now they are in power, they're not looking out for us? I sound like a wimp. The problem is that we haven't taken our place in the affairs of men. And we expect an African to get in power, whether Nigerian, whether Ghanaian, or wherever, and then represent for us. No. Charity starts at home. And you can't be mad at that. We need to step up and stop saying, I'm not a group, we don't have no leader. Organize so you can represent for us. And that will change everything. Go.
Okay. First of all, I don't have an issue with people from the diaspora coming to this country and building with their own and opening up restaurants and whatever it is doing, because essentially they're not doing anything that Black Americans have not already done and is still doing till this day. So there's no issue with them coming to this country and assimilating with each other. The problem comes when the disrespect comes. Now, you can say it's childish and all that stuff, but it's still disrespect to people who paved a way and created a lane for you to get here in the first place, because the Europeans did not even want you here. And it took African Black Americans to go out there and fight and to get dogs and water hoses sicked on them to fight for immigration reform and things of that nature for them to be able to even come here and make a living for themselves. So you come here, make a living for yourself, that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. But when it comes to the disrespect, when it comes to showing up at reparations rallies and crashing out the reparations rallies, when it comes to trying to speak on Black Americans' reparations, when it comes to groups like CARICOM, who's fighting for reparations, and they do not include Black Americans in their reparations fight, but yet and still the president of CARICOM is trying to interject herself into Black Americans' reparations claim. The African Union is trying to interject themselves into Black Americans' reparations claim. Barack Obama just appointed a Nigerian sister. I don't remember her name at the moment. Is Lovely something. Her name is like Lovely, is kind of a weird name like that. But she is a Nigerian woman that's been appointed by Barack Obama to be over Black Americans' reparations. You have people from the diaspora, like I said, they are in Congress and they're in positions of power, just like Black Americans are. And, you have people saying stuff like, oh, we need to get rid of Black History Month. Oh, we need to, it's always an attack on us. It's always an attack on us. That's where the problem comes in. I don't have an issue with people coming here and assimilating with themselves and building and trying to make a way for themselves. That's not where the issue comes in. The issue comes with the disrespect. You understand what I'm saying? So,
all right. The reason why I find all of this disingenuous, I find it all disingenuous Because the original attacker is never addressed. The original attacker is the one that controlled the legislation that gets bills passed. Majority of them are Europeans. The original attacker controls the curriculum in your school. The original attacker controls your taxes. The original attacker is right now sending police into neighborhoods to harass people and what's going on. So when you start talking about a powerless people attacking you, the original power is with the European imperialistic powers. And you're not addressing the real attacker. You're skirting right past the real attacker. But you know what y'all say? Y'all, when you say when you talk about the real attacker, you call it white supremacy, and then you move on to talk about a Nigerian. You can move on to no. Attack the if you want to listen, if you want to tear out a tree, you tear out the roots. You don't take the leaves off and think the tree gonna fall. The root of the problem is not a Nigerian. The root of the problem is not a Haitian. Where is the root of the problem? Why are you bypassing looking at the root of the problem, addressing the root of the problem, and putting more energy? You're putting more energy on the leaves, on the branches, but you're not putting no energy at the root. The only time you talk about the root of the problem is when you say white supremacy, and then you go back to talk about Jamaicans. You say white supremacy, then you go back to talk about Haitians. You say white supremacy, but you never address the root of the problem. When will you address the root of the problem? The root of the problem is that Europeans right now is running around in neighborhoods harassing our people. That's the root of the problem. So it's disingenuous to call a Haitian a problem, to call a Nigerian a problem. They do not run or own the construct. We know who does. Go ahead.
They are not the root of the problem. I agree with you. But they are still a part of the problem because they are being used by white supremacy. They are being used as a buffer group. Okay? So that means that they are giving these people certain talking points. They're giving these people certain things to undermine us. Okay, they're being used as a buffer group. So yes, I agree with you. We have to attack the main source, which we do. FBA acknowledged that. Okay, I like to use the spider web theory. Okay, when you're knocking down spider webs, there's a spider web here, which is tethers and immigrants trying to assimilate and undermine Black Americans. You got this over here. You got these different spider webs, but we have to attack that spider, and that spider is white supremacy. I understand that, okay? But the point that I'm trying to make is this is a checking, so to speak, that needed to be had. Okay, this is something that needed to happen because it has not happened in the past. The majority of us were staunch down with the Pan-Africanism thing, but it was always one-sided, and it was always Black Americans carrying the torch for the RBG. It was always Black Americans. Marcus Garvey had to bring his program out of Jamaica and bring it here to the United States for it to be successful. So it's Black Americans, it is FBA who carries the torch of the RBG, and I don't care what anybody say. Black Americans, the RBG, that's our flag, because we are the ones who kept it alive, and we are the ones who's keeping it alive now. We're keeping this Pan-African flag alive now. So the point that I'm trying to make is necessary to delineate, and it is necessary to attack this particular spider web because these people is being used as a tool from white supremacy. They're being used as a buffer group. So yes, it is necessary to attack them. No, that doesn't mean just focus on them, focus on the diaspora, focus on the people that's coming in to the country and disrespecting, and just skip over the main cause, which is white supremacy. We understand that. FBAs understand that, but the tether thing and the people coming here with the disrespect and all that stuff, it has to be checked. We have to teach these people how to treat us and to have a little bit more respect when they come here. So, and that's all that is. Okay, that doesn't mean that we're not fighting. That doesn't mean that we're not still fighting against white supremacy, but we are. But we have to break their tools as well.
Let me backtrack to you say, what did Pan-Africanism accomplish? I can't believe that you said that. I can't believe that you said that. Do you really mean that? You really mean that? Like, what did Pan-Africanism accomplish? You really mean that? You mean tell me that you claimed Pan-Africanism and you don't know about Jomo Kenyatta? You don't know his accomplishments? You mean you know Pan-Africanism and you don't know Kwame Nkrumah? You don't know his accomplishments? You mean you know Pan-Africanism and you don't know who else? You can have Haile Selassie as a Pan-Africanist. You don't know their accomplishments? You don't know about the WIC program that they use today? You don't know about all the schools? You don't know about, I mean, you mean tell me that you claimed Pan-Africanism and you don't know any Pan-Africanism accomplishments? And you think Pan-Africanism is just rhetoric talked in America? No, Pan-Africanism is a spirit, brother. It's an energy. It's a connection. It's a connection, brother. It's not even, listen, each and every person demonstrate their portion of Pan-Africanism a little bit differently. However, the objective is the same. A unified Africa, which each and every person have their unique take on walking towards liberation. So Pan-Africanism is not the YouTube Black Power and the RBG flag. Pan-Africanism was and continues to be a group of educated people. These are authors. These are school builders. These are community builders. Bro, I don't know why you got caught up in the Sonetta RBG stuff, because that's what you sound like when you say Pan-Africanism. It's very clear that you have bit the talking points of FBA spin on Pan-Africanism. But that's not Pan-Africanism. You have people today with institutions surviving from when Pan-Africanism was on the front page. And just because Pan-Africanism is not on the front page today, that doesn't mean that the people in the institution and the ideals of Pan-Africanism is dead. I was just around hundreds of people. Come on, brother.
Okay. Let me say this then. You just proved my point by what you're saying, because you did not name anything tangible that we have received from Pan-Africanism.
Bro, people receive WIC every day.
When the diaspora come to this country, they get tangible benefits. Okay, they get set-asides, they get goodies, they get checks, they get money, they get food stamps, they get welfare, they get housing, they get the DACA program, they get sanctuary cities, they get tangible benefits from. They benefit from Pan-Africanism a lot more than we do. That's why I say it's one-sided. So we go to their country. We do not get all these government set-asides and things. We have to drop a bag in their country. If we decide to move to their country, We get charged more. We get charged more for land. They can take their land away from us whenever they're ready. We have to drop a bag off into their country, but they come here and they can get all the benefits in the world. They benefit with tangibles from Pan-Africanism, and we Black Americans do not. We benefit from maybe some knowledge and maybe a spiritual practice and a revolution here or there. You got a Robert Mugabe here. You got a Ibrahim Traoré there. A Julius Malema here. But that's not how revolutions. Man, all of Africa has to come together as one in order for it to be true Pan-Africanism. But the point that I'm making is they come here and benefit with tangibles, with money, with sanctuary cities. We do not. So that's the point that I'm making, brother.
Brother, what you just explained was welfare. You didn't explain Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism has nothing to do with Europeans setting aside something for you. Because what you just named was when they come here, Europeans, the European government said, that's not Pan-Africanism. Hold up, brother. Stop for a minute. You said when they come here, they get this, they get that, you get this, they get that. That's not Pan-Africanism. You call that Pan-Africanism? You are out your mind. Brother, that's what you said. And then you compared it to when we go to their country. When we go to their country, we don't get this. What you're talking about is welfare. You're not talking about Pan-Africanism. You got to compartmentalize. That's not what you just explained is not Pan-Africanism, brother. What you explained is that you want the European to give you some handouts because you owe you. Just say that. No, you saying that he's giving. Bro, hold up. What you saying? Hold up. Hold a second. What you saying, you said it, brother, not me. Rewind the tape. You say when they come here, they get this, they get that, they get this, they get that. And you said, I proved your point. Pan-Africanism is about creating your own. Pan-Africanism has never been about somebody giving you anything. Pan-African has been about moving politically and getting what is yours. Pan-Africanism was about moving educationally and getting what is yours. Pan-Africanism is about getting it from the mud. Pan-Africanism is not about you going somewhere and somebody giving you something. It's about people working together and establishing their own, getting into the political field and ciphering out those things necessary for the prosperity of the people. But Pan-Africanism, what you just named, is welfare. That's what you just named. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, that's what I just named. The point that I'm making is they get things when they get here. Okay, welfare, yes. That's the point that I'm making is they get certain benefits when they get here. When we go there, we do not get benefits, government or otherwise. We have to get it out the mud. When they get here, they get handouts and benefits and programs and all of these different things. That is lopsided, one-sided Pan-Africanism. I'm not saying that I want welfare and all of that stuff like me personally, but the point that I'm making is they come here and they get free shit. That's the point that I'm making. And it's lopsided because when we go there, we do not receive the same. Now, I'm not saying that they have to give me something. I'm not saying that they owe me something and all of that. But what I'm saying is when they get here, they get goodies and set-asides and things of that nature, which makes this Pan-Africanism thing one-sided. One group of people receive tangible benefits while the other group of people get some knowledge and maybe a spiritual system.
Once again, that's not Pan-Africanism because the government gives them something. That is called white European imperialism, whereas one group is pitted against the other group. That's all that is. That's no different than the light skin pitted against the dark skin, and the dark skin and the tall and the old pit against the other. So you bring one group of people that's from the same ancestral lineage, and you find a way to pit one against the other by giving one benefits and depriving the other. That's European imperialism. That's not Pan-Africanism. And for you to even classify European psychology as Pan-Africanism, it shows that you need to get back to your African-centered thinking, brother, because this FBA-centered thinking has really got you messed up. It really do have you messed up, because you think that European giving out handouts is Pan-Africanism. That's not Pan-Africanism. Listen, that's what you said. When they come here, they get goodies. You know what I'm saying? That's not Pan-Africanism, brother. Understand that's not Pan-Africanism. What I'm trying to tell you, brother, is that when the European sets up a system to dominate, there's always going to be a group of us, regardless of what part of diaspora we're from, is going to be put up on a pedestal. They do it in Africa all the time. When they infiltrate Africa, the first thing they do is they put in a puppet leader. Ain't that what they do? And the puppet leader gets all the benefits and keep the corruption going so they can deplete the resources. So it's no different here. If you got Nigerians coming here and they getting benefits, people from Kenya come here and they getting benefits, and you're crying that you're not getting benefits, the problem is not the system that we so well know about. The problem is that we haven't countered the system by building and establishing our own. We're too worried about the system that's been here to dominate us and to oppress us, and we haven't spent as much time to build our own. That's the issue. You're crying and not building. And the philosophy, listen to what I'm saying, the philosophy of building need to be taught more than the philosophy of crying and begging. The philosophy in what you just talked about is crying and begging. With all due respect, it's crying and begging. The philosophy of Pan-Africanism is collectively building, collectively establishing something, and recognizing that we have many different cultures around the planet. Some we can identify, some we can't identify with. But universally, it's the same oppressor that caused this division in the first place. And so for you to perpetuate the division, you're no different than the oppressor. And delineation, what is delineation? You haven't delineated from the European. You still want to use his electricity. You still want to use his toilet and flush your doo-doo. You say, when have you going to delineate from the European? So when you say delineating from Africans or delineating from Haitians, what actually does that mean? You don't own nothing to delineate. You don't own your own land. You don't own your own community. You don't own your own private space. You can't delineate by talking. A true delineation is what happens when you get the Ukraine breaking off from Russia. That's what you get with a true delineation. You know what I'm saying? And guess what? Ukraine, they broke off from the oppressor, in their words, right? So when you're saying delineating, the people you're delineating from don't even have power to oppress you. They have power to antagonize, maybe. They have power to use some of the resources by the powers that be to look like they're doing better than you, but they don't even have power. So your delineation is baseless, because where are you going? What are you doing besides talking? You're just talking. You're not an organization. You don't have a leader. You're not going anywhere. You're merely just talking delineation. That's all you're doing is talking. That's not delineation. Talking delineation and actually putting application to delineation, like buying a piece of land instead of a museum, starting to put some houses on that land and say, this is where FBA will begin to build its delineation community. That's delineation. What you're doing now is just talking and using European separatist talking points that they use to infiltrate us in the early days coming out of slavery. And now Tariq Nasheed, he perpetuates that by eloquently, and he's very eloquent with it, by eloquently wording it in such a way that appeals to your palate. When it all is sourced by European imperialism. Brother, I'm gonna let you say the last word, and I'm gonna get out of here, brother. I think your chicken is cooked. Brother, you can come to my class, brother. I got you, brother.
Bruh. No, my chicken is not cooked, as you say, and you say that it's just talk and rhetoric. Let me break down some things that will prove to you that FBA is not just talk and rhetoric. Okay, first and foremost, we caused the Democrats the election. Okay, that's all FBA. Whether you want to agree with it or not, we caused them the election because they are not. They're not doing what they're supposed to do. They expect for us to vote for them, and yet and still they are providing no tangibles for us. So we advise the people to stay at home or to even vote for Trump, or somebody else other than the Democrats. Okay, so we cost the Democrats the election. All right, we were acknowledged by Ryan Coogler. Okay, who has the #1 movie in America right now, Sinners. Okay, he acknowledged his FBA lineage and basically created a movie around that. Okay, so we're not just a fringe group online. Okay, you had 2 very successful FBA rallies in Washington D.C. Okay, you was there. You seen the amount of people that was there. So that ought to tell you alone that this is not just some fringe group online and we're just talking. Okay, we're not just talking. Another thing, brother. Now let me cook real quick. Another thing, we debunked Fat Joe's lie about Puerto Ricans creating hip hop 50-50. That's a bold-faced lie. It's not true. Hip hop is a Black American FBA art form created by FBAs and later adapted by, Puerto Ricans were the first students of FBA culture when it comes to the hip hop. But we took out that logic that hip hop was created 50-50. We are also This is what we're doing. Since you say that we're just a friends group and we're just talking and we're online, we are fighting to have the term FBA added to the United States Census. Okay, we're working on that right now. All right, and also you mentioned institutions and you get into the logistics and the paperwork and all that stuff about Tariq Nasheed's museum and all of that stuff. But the point is, he has the museum. You talk about buying land. A lot of us are buying land. I own land myself, and I plan on building institutions on my land. Now, I'm not trying to do no crowdfunding or nothing like that right now, because I don't want people to start calling me a grifter and all this shit. You know what I'm saying? But but that is something that FBAs are working on. We're not just out here talking. And we're out here doing things. We are setting up reparations task force. We are one of the main things about the FBA is that we are fighting tooth and nail to try to get a reparations bill passed for foundational Black Americans. If your lineage traces back to 1860 census, you know what I'm saying? So that's what that is. And like I said, there's the numerous reparations task force and things like that. We done caused plenty of boule Democratic Black pundits to lose their jobs and to things like that, like your Roland Martins and your your Tiffany Crosses and all the other people, they are crashing and burning because FBAs is putting them out of business because the Democratic plantation is paying these people to try to bring us back to the Democratic plantation, and it's just not working. It is just not working.
But we ain't gonna
go let you cook.
Hold up, we ain't gonna go yet. First of all, those are FBA talking points that you shift the election. Let me tell you something. Listen to this, brother. Listen to this. The quote unquote black people in America, they say to be 13% of the population. Whether that's true or false, that's what the census say, right? The FBA don't even reach 2% of that population. Just because you're in the FBA spaces, it's popular to you. Understand what 13% of the United States is, number one. The third is the Democrats lost election on their own from stupidity. Had nothing to do with FBA. It was stupidity. That's nothing to do with FBA. Now, because they lost, of course, your leader is going to try to take the credit. But when you have someone that's fighting for the top office and you bringing Beyonce on stage and the other sister on stage with a man suit on, and you're running around with hot sauce and you're cooking greens, talking about in a tub, and you're pandering a group of intelligent people because voters have some sense of intelligence, even if not the intelligence that we measure intelligence by. To participate is a sense of intelligence. Even if we don't know how to formulate our group vote, there is a sense of intelligence. And you're running around with hot sauce. You're running around putting on kente cloths with your European husband. You're pandering. Has nothing to do with FBA, brother. But because they lost, FBA want to take credit because it fits the scenario. But with 13% of the population, FBA is probably don't even scratch the surface of 2% of that population to influence. Just because you're on the internet, bro, you're in the mix of FBA conversation, so it's big to you. But if you go out in the regular world, like I did, and say, what's FBA? I guarantee you 8 out of 10 people don't know what you're talking about. Maybe even 9 don't even know what you're talking about. Random people in the grocery store don't even know what you're talking about. So what I'm telling you, so that's number one, bro. You're taking credit for something that's an illusion, and you cannot even quantify it at this point. You can't quantify it. You can't say, oh, we caused this many number. That you can't quantify it. You're just saying it because it fits the theme. Secondly, about who created rap. In reality, bro, that's another way to sell a DVD that flopped. And the reason why it flopped, because the creator of the DVD stole information from the same people that he called Tether and tried to release it in microphone check. Now, to create the confusion and the hype around who created hip hop is marketing at best. It's called marketing, brother. It's called hyper marketing. It's like the girl that did the video about her baby father buying one child McDonald's and didn't buy the other children McDonald's, and the video go viral and everybody like, wow, what's going on? Man, would you have bought the other children McDonald's? I wouldn't have bought the other. Little did they know that she's a TikToker and she was paid for the skit. This is called marketing, brother. And we're too grown not to understand when marketing is happening. It's called marketing because in the big scheme of things, the European Jew profited off hip hop. The European Jew own the streaming companies. The European Jew own hip hop culture right now. They decide, can I finish? They decide what sells and what doesn't. They decide. You understand? They decide Kendrick Lamar to go as far as he went. Now his talent will take him halfway, but the machine takes him over the top. So the argument is about selling a product. Has nothing to do, like, how does it benefit us? How does it benefit us whether Fat Joe created hip hop or whether it was created in the Bronx by one of us? How does it benefit us? It really doesn't benefit us. It's a conversation. It's a coffee table conversation. It's no different than talking about football. The Dallas Cowboys against the Washington Redskins. It's no different. It doesn't benefit us in social advancement. It give us some pride because somebody can talk about how many people they killed. It give us some pride because somebody can talk about how much coke they sold, because that's where hip hop is going to. And now you're talking about the foundation of hip hop that has been sold out to drug dealers, strippers, pimps, hookers. And now you want to go to the foundation and say who started it, but who really cares? So it becomes a marketing ploy to sell a DVD, and we're too grown not to be tricked like this. It's marketing, brother. Now that conversation is gone, and now we'll start some controversy about something else to sell the next DVD. So when Hidden Color 6 is ready to drop, whatever the theme is, there will be controversy built around it, so some idiot can go and purchase the DVD, brother. We are too grown for these childish tactics. Bro, we built the pyramids. How do we fall for this okie doke? Bro, we built civilizations. How do you sit here, look me in my face, and act like this is high science when this is common sense when I'm breaking down to you? This is not high science. Bro, we built pyramids, bro. This is not, manipulation is not high science. Why are you falling for it? It's manipulation. It's marketing manipulation, brother, and we're too grown for this. This is why Tariq Nasheed tell jokes all the time. This is why Tariq Nasheed make cartoons. This is why, because he appealed to your adolescent mind. And I'm not saying you per se, but he appeals to the adolescent mind. Many of us as men are nothing more than grown men, or let me rephrase it. Many of us are nothing but boys with mustaches. Boys with mustaches and beards, because we fall for the craziest okie doke. I don't know if you're from the streets or not. But some of these games, if they was played in the streets, somebody would have lost their head, because we would have caught on quicker. Why is it when we become conscious, we don't catch the game? When we become conscious and aware, with the game, people can sell us anything. But when we're in the street selling some dope, we in the street selling some poison, and somebody try to run a game, come on, man, we ain't going for it. But soon as we become conscious, people can market it to us, sell us anything. But let you be in the street selling some weed or something, and somebody talking about, nah, man, this ain't no parsley fakes. Man, you slap it out their hand and slap upside their head. But here in the conscious world, we say, well, we Fat Joe, we proved that Fat Joe. So what? So what? At the end of the day, who benefits of proving Fat Joe and Puerto Ricans didn't create hip hop? The one who created the DVD from your donations. You don't benefit from it. How does that benefit? That makes you proud that you created, that we created hip hop? That makes you proud? What is the benefit? Where is the benefit?
Okay. Can I? I'm gonna answer that, and brother, I'm gonna go ahead and answer this, and then I'm gonna have to wrap it up because my phone is on low battery and it's not charging the way I want it to. But I've definitely enjoyed this conversation with you. You understand what I'm saying? But okay, first and foremost, hip hop culture is owned by us. It is not owned by the corporate. We own hip hop culture. We set the trends and where hip hop going. I understand that you may not really care. It may not really be a thing to you, but to me, I am a hip hop artist who sells music, on iTunes and Spotify and all that stuff. So it matters to me. And hip hop culture is controlled, and the trends are set by us. The dominant society, the folks in power, the whatever you want to call them, the white folks, okay, they own the record industry. They own the music industry. Okay, they got that's where the money is at and all of that stuff. But you cannot say that we do not own the culture. And I'm proud to be a part of owning the culture. Money and all of that stuff is fine, but we own hip hop culture. And that's what I'm just going to leave that at that. Also, you talk about not only do we own the culture, but you say, why does it matter? It matters because we've created every music genre in this country, and it is always being undermined. Is always undermined, attacked. And then after that, if you can't beat them, join them. So then people of all different races, and it doesn't matter, people are always coming in and trying to cosplay and trying to assimilate our music and our art forms, and try to get into it and try to delete us from it. People are always trying to steal stuff that we create. So it is important to establish the creation of hip hop and who created it, because you have people who are trying to steal it for whatever particular reasons, but you always have people trying to steal our culture. So that is the reason why it is important. Okay. And I'm going to say this again. I'm going to reiterate. We own hip hop culture and we set the trends. But my battery is getting low. Brother, and if there's anything else you want to,
I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you, brother. Let me say this, brother. We actually don't own the culture. In fact, we're actually taking the culture back as I speak. Right now, you have all the classic hip hop artists. They're coming back with a vengeance. Whether it's Kwame, whether it's Public Enemy, whether it's Eric Sermon, whether it's MC Light, we're trying to take it back. But as of right now in this hour, we do not own hip hop culture. And what I mean, don't own hip hop culture, we have a stake or real estate in hip hop culture. But the stake that we have in hip hop culture is not as profitable as those who have hijacked it and made it the business for them and their people by using our people as puppets. When you look at the Sexy Reds, these are people that's created by people who own hip hop culture. When you look at the Kodak Blacks, and when you look at all of whether it's King Von or anybody you think of in the last 10 years, and I'm gonna just go in a 10-year block, you're looking at people that was created by the owners of hip hop culture. In this hour, and I'm connected with a lot of hip hop artists, in this hour, hip hop is now being taken back. So, but at this hour, what you have witnessed in the last 10 or maybe even 20, but possibly 10 years is those who own hip hop, creating hip hop to sell for your digestion, for them to make money and for us to be destructive. We're now taking it back, brother. We're now taking it back. So as you pay attention, you will notice that all of the classical hip hop coming out. Matter of fact, Eric Sermon said today, he said it, not today, he said it a few days ago, I think, if I'm not mistaken. He said, I'm not hating on your young rappers, but your time is up. We taking it back. So now we are, brother. So, brother, we have a seat for you over here on the common sense table. Leave that nonsense alone and let's go get our people and wake them up. And I'm going to let you go because I heard somebody, probably your child, at the door. And brother, I see you on Facebook. All right.
All right, brother. Peace, Hotep, and yeah, that's my little boy knocking at the door. You know, he ready to hang out with daddy. But yeah, obviously I disagree with you when it comes to the ownership of the culture. We created hip hop culture. We set the trends for hip hop culture, and we own hip hop culture. We do not own the record industry. You know, that's something that we need to work on. But I do agree with what you're saying as far as we taking it back, you know what I'm saying, and bringing it back to what, you know, what was real, and doing away with all this corporate slutty trampy music and murder death kill music and all that stuff. So as far as the hip hop goes, I disagree with you on not owning the culture, but you know, that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time. And you know, I see your peoples here in the comments talking mad sugar honey iced tea. They could talk all they want. Doesn't matter. You know, a bunch of trolls and whatever the case. So I you know, anything that they say that does not faze me at all. But I appreciate you having me on, brother. Is FBA yesterday, FBA today, FBA tomorrow. I'm standing firm on my square, brother. And you know, you might think that FBA is a small thing right now. You know what I'm saying, and you can diminish it and try to minimize it all you want, but it's just getting bigger. It just keeps growing, and it's going to keep growing. And there's pretty much nothing that you or the people in your comments can do about it. So, you know, but I respect you, brother. I respect you, Grand Sheik, and I actually respect the Morse science, and you know, and stuff like that. So I do respect you and where you're coming from. But this FBA thing is on fire right now. We cooking, and is going to keep moving forward. And you can tell by the number one move. I'm gonna say this one more time. We have been acknowledged by the man who has created the number one movie in America right now, who also created the Black Panther films. So that's a huge thing, brother. And we just keep getting bigger. We just keep growing. It's a lineage.
Before you go.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you realize that Hollywood, just like Roots is not real, it's a script. Somebody wrote it. There's an agenda behind FBA, and I just told you the agenda. The agenda is the divisive aspect of FBA to keep our people disunited so we can continue to be dominated. So when you see something in Hollywood, just remember that there's a script, that somebody wrote that in, and that Hollywood has been instrumental with seasoning our mind with foolishness, lies, and all the things that lead to our demise. There's no different when Hollywood created Black Panther. And when you look up the true essence of the real Black Panthers, you get a fictitious cartoon. So at the end of the day, you have to understand propaganda. Hollywood has never been our friend and is not our friend now. And so if you think that the guy is proclaiming FBA because that's his lineage, or is he creating it because that's his job? You have to understand the European works through mediums of media to manipulate people. So whatever you choose, whatever poison you choose, whether it's the media of Hollywood of a movie called Sinners, whether it's the poison of social media where you get your information, whether it's the poison of whether it's Twitter, you choose your poison. But at the end of the day, it all falls along the same construct that was instituted before, during, and after slavery, disconnecting us with one another within the diaspora. And that's the agenda. Peace.
All right, brother. Okay, well, I'm just gonna go ahead and end it there. I'm not talking about Hollywood and all of that stuff. I'm just saying specifically being mentioned by a person who now has the #1 movie in America. But like I said, brother, FBA is cooking right now, and like I said, there's nothing that can be done about that. Y'all just gonna have to sit back and watch us cook. All right, so I'm about to bounce, brother, because my phone is on 5% and it ain't moving, and I don't want to just cut off on you. But maybe we can have this conversation again. But I think that you and your crew in the comments was roasted today, and that's just what it is, brother. So hey, peace and power. But we'll get back at you, brother.
The brothers say that we was roasted, but he opened up with Hotep. The brothers say that we was roasted, but he's sitting behind him is a RBG flag. Family, when I talk to people like this, I'm really not trying to convince him of anything. But I know that there's other people that will come to view this show, and they may be able to get some takeaways. And I think this was a pretty good show because it really highlights the disconnect as it relates to intelligence. The brother was able to use marketing as something valuable. The marketing of making a dispute between who created hip hop. That's marketing. The guy in Sinners, they're going to market FBA. I told people maybe a few weeks ago that up into fall, FBA is going to be an algorithm hit. So when you do a show, when you do a show, use FBA. It's going to be an algorithm hit. And then it's going to go. And then it's going to flop. And then for him to say FBA is cooking shows that he lives in a vacuum. And many of these FBAs live in a vacuum of social media. Every talking point that he was using are the same talking points that we have heard come straight from Tariq mouth. He has no original talking points. He has no original ideas. He has no original concepts. He didn't even know what Lineage was. So at the end of the day, family, I give a shout out to my brother Marquez. His name not even FBA. His name not even FBA. With the brother name Marquez or something, his name is not even FBA. So that's what blows me away by FBA. But family, this was a good one right here. If you like it, make sure you put the thumbs up. Thank you for anybody that has hit the Cash App. I see my brother Thurman Smart. Thank you. That was yesterday. And Magnolia, I appreciate you, family. But man, FBA is cooking. I tell you what, they better get off the stove because they start smelling like the beans is burning in the kitchen. And we heard that the beans don't burn in the kitchen. Or the beans don't burn on the grill, but they sound like they're burning to me. With that being said, family, peace and love. I'm out. I went over my time, but it was a beautiful discussion, and I will see y'all on Wednesday, unless something pop up and I might go before. But listen, the shows are scheduled for Sunday and Wednesday, but make sure you hit that bell because if I got the energy, I may pop up and go live anytime at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you hit that bell for breaking and news. But family, I got a lot on my plate. So I got to make sure that I keep our schedule together Sundays and Wednesday. But I'm telling you, man, I feel like I might have to go live tomorrow. I feel like I gotta go live tomorrow. Peace and love, family. Peace and love. You feel me?